Hello everybody, it's Mike Paterson from Paterson Photography and First Choice Photo here in Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. Welcome back to the studio. So one of the questions that I get from a lot of my students and a lot of my clients is, what equipment do I have? So before I start that, I need to say I'm not an equipment junkie. I don't upgrade just for the sake of upgrading. So some of my equipment is a little bit older, but it does what I want it to do. So let's start with the first bag that I generally grab when I go someplace. In this bag, I have a 5D Mark IV. On the 5D Mark IV is an extended grip. It holds 2 batteries. It also has the ability to shoot vertically, which is what I like the most about this grip, other than the batteries, is that I can shoot without twisting my arm this way all the time. And it seems that the older I get, the more my bones creak and crack. And if I'm shooting vertically for 3 or 4 hours, going like this, by the end of the day, I feel very tired. Whereas with this, it's a lot easier to shoot. It's a lot easier to handle. And I have all the buttons where I need them. The lens that I keep on this one 90% of the time is a Canon 24-70 L series lens. It's an f4 lens. I really don't see the need for the f2.8 for what I do, so that stays on it 99% of the time. This lens comes to do business portraits. It comes to do other commercial shots, family pictures, grad pictures. It comes to do some of the scenic stuff I do, the landscape stuff I do, and that's what it's designed for and that's what it's set up for. It's also used for doing some video. Now with that, I also have the 70-200 lens. Between the 24-70 and the 70-200, I have a range from 24 all the way up to 200. So it covers 90% of the stuff that this camera is set up for. I really don't need an extended reach with this camera because it's not what I've set it up for. I also have, as a sort of a fun lens and sort of for a different effect, I have a 50 1.8 lens with it. So if I want something really shallow depth of field, because occasionally when I go out someplace, I'll want that shallow depth of field, so I keep that with it as well. I have with it also a 580 flash. It's set up so that it goes onto that camera. And I also happen to have a diffuser for the flash. So within this bag, I have everything that I need for probably 75% of my studio work that I do, my commercial work that I do, and that sort of thing. Now, if I am going out to do business portraits, if I am going out to do stuff where I need a shallower depth of field, I do have a lens that I keep available for this camera, and that is a 100 f2 lens. That actually spends most of its time at the studio, because I have a couple purposes for it at the studio, but I do have it so if I am going out and I want a really shallow depth of field with this camera, I can put it in the case with it and it can travel with it. I love this lens. I've had this lens for a lot of years. It's not an official L series lens per se, but it's about as sharp as a lens you can get. And it does a lot of great work, and I love it, and I probably will never part with this lens. It is not image stabilized, neither is the 70-200, but I honestly don't see a need for what I use this camera for to have an image stabilized system. So the next camera that I have is the one that actually travels with me the most times when I'm out shooting my wildlife. In fact, it's actually my wildlife camera. This is a Canon 70D, one of several 70Ds that I have, and it is hooked up to what I have to call my favorite lens. It's, again, a Canon 70D, and it is hooked up to the Sigma 150-600. Now, a lot of people say, well, why didn't you go with the Canon lens? A lot of people say, well, why do you go with this camera? So let me explain to you why. I like the Canon 70D because one thing is, it's a camera that does everything I want it to do, and it has no extra features above what I need, so for me it works perfect. The second thing, and this is an area where a lot of people are probably sitting there cringing right now, is, but it's a crop sensor. Yes, it's a crop sensor, and I love it. What is a crop sensor? Well, on the Canon 5D Mark IV, it's a full frame sensor. The sensor on this one is a smaller sensor. So what does that mean? It means that when I'm putting this lens on it, it increases the magnification of this lens naturally. So This is a 150 to 600 lens. With the magnification of this camera, it's over an 800 millimeter lens, which is what I've got on this camera. I love it for that. Can I put this lens on my 5D Mark IVs? Yes, I can put them on this onto my 5D Mark IVs. But it'll be a 600 millimeter lens. It won't be an 800 millimeter lens, which is what it is on this camera. So that's why I have paired the two up. The other thing that I did, which was the most important thing with this matchup, is I programmed the camera and the lens together. So I've gone in and I focused the camera and focused the lens so that they are actually paired up 100%. And when I focus, I know everything is in focus and I know that it's working and doing what it's supposed to do. This body does not come off of this lens, and this lens does not go on my other bodies. It's as simple as that. Could I? If I wanted to, I could, but I don't. Like my 5D Mark IV, it has the extended grip. Like all my 70Ds, all my cameras in fact now have extended grips because I have the dual batteries on it, and I'm also able to shoot vertically. Which when you're dealing with a lens that's this heavy, it's nice that you're comfortable, it's nice that you can hand hold it, and it's stable, and you're not trying to do all this twisting and everything with it, and it works perfect. Now, in this case, there's a few other things. I have remotes for it. I also have in this case, which is weird because it's the exact opposite of what this lens is, I have a 10 to 20 lens. I occasionally use the 10 to 20 on this camera body. Very seldom. It's actually set up to be used on the camera that I'm actually videotaping this with, which is another 70D, and I use this for my ultra wide stuff. This works great for real estate. This works great for commercial stuff where we're inside a tight space. This works great for construction pictures and so on and so forth. But I keep it in here just because I don't have space in a lot of my other bags. So that's why it's in here. I also have a battery charger in here for it. And that is currently, there's the other cords for it. That is currently all that is housed in here with it. This camera, like I say, it probably takes 10 times the pictures of my other cameras combined because I love my nature and my wildlife, and this does a lot. I have done insect pictures with it. I've done plant pictures with it. I've done pictures of bears. I've done pictures of just about anything you can imagine. The moon. I've done it with this lens. I love this lens. Now, another area that I get a lot of questions about and even some complaints about is, you mean you handhold that camera? You handhold that lens? The majority of my work that I do, I handhold my cameras. Why? Because I'm on the move and I don't have the time to set up a tripod, or nor do I have the energy to carry a tripod, to be truthful. As I've told people before, and it shouldn't come to a surprise to a lot of people, if you know me, you know that I have a lung disease and that my walking and my ability to carry stuff is semi-limited. So to carry a lot of weight, I suffer a great deal when I do that. So generally I handhold this camera, and I don't worry about lugging a heavy tripod with. If I am going out for a long time, I do have several monopods that I take with so that I can set the lens onto this, and it gives me a little bit more stability, and it actually helps me to be able to preserve some of my energy because it's resting on here and I'm not holding it up constantly during the day. It also works good for being a little bit more stable. It also works good as a walking stick. So that is how I usually have this paired. If I'm shooting close to the vehicle, or I'm shooting longer exposures, or if I'm shooting video with this camera and this lens combination, I do have tripods for that. I have actually 3 tripods. The one that's currently being used there is a lighter weight one. It has I think it's called a gun stock trigger on it, so that you can pull the trigger and that's how you reposition it. It's good for the lighter cameras. It's good for video like what I'm doing now, but it's not good for panning, and it's not good for a lot of long exposures with the heavy lens. I then have a very heavy duty tripod, and I couldn't even tell you the name of it. I've had it approximately, I would say 30 years right now. It's a great tripod, but it weighs as much as, well, probably as much as I do. It is a heavy sucker. It's built out of steel, and it's lasted me a long time. The only thing with it that's ever broken on it was one of the little grips on the top where the camera gets screwed down to came unglued. Other than that, the thing is a workhorse, and I love it. Again, it's not so much for video because it hasn't got a fluid head on it, but it does just about everything else I want it to do, and it's heavy enough that when I'm shooting long exposures, I'm not getting movement on it. My last tripod has actually only been with me for a week today. It's a Manfrotto, and it's got a fluid head on it, and it's actually a video tripod. It's a heavy sucker, and it does exactly what I wanted it to do. It holds the camera, and if I'm doing any videoing, it allows me to be able to pan and to do different things with the head because it's a fluid head on it. I also like it for my bigger lens because it allows me to follow some animals and stuff with the bigger lens, and it's a lot smoother than some of the smaller tripods. But 99% of the time when I'm out shooting with this lens, I'm out shooting with it and I'm hand holding it. So that is one of the 70Ds. I also have a 70D that I'm recording this with right there. It's got the 18-135 kit lens that came with the camera. The day I bought the 70D, the only cameras that you could buy in Canada had the kit lens with it. So my idea was I was going to buy the lens and then I was going to resell it. Well, the 18-135 is an amazing lens. In fact, over my professional lenses, I would say it either ties or beats them in a lot of areas. It's designed for video. It has the STM motor system in it, so it's a quieter motor system. You don't get as many jerks and grinding as you do with even the L series lenses, and it's just a great lens. What I do with that system is that system spends most of the time here at the studio as a studio camera, as a copy camera, and also as an emergency camera because some days I get called out when I don't have other gear with me, and that system actually can be put together quickly to hit the road. At the studio here, I also have another flash, possibly two more flashes here in the studio. I have one that I don't use very often that I could use in an emergency, but I have a 430EX, I think it is, that's also designed for the EOS system. It's a smaller lens or a smaller flash, but it's also the slave to the bigger one that I have. So if I need to take multiple lighting on location and I can't take my studio lights with me, I'm able to take that system. So what other lenses do I have? Well, at this time, I think that is 90% of the lenses I have, with the exception of this one here, and it's a 100 f2 macro. I bought it a number of years ago. It's one of the only lenses I think I've ever bought used. It was from a client that I know, and it wasn't even used. She still had it in the box, but she had bought it. She thought she wanted it, and she never did get around to using it. So she brought me in a bunch of lenses and asked if I wanted to buy them. I said no, but I would help her sell them. And after seeing this lens, I decided that I should buy this lens. I don't use it much, but when I do use it, I fall in love with it all over again. I took it out last night to do some spider pictures and some plant pictures, and it's just an amazing lens. It doesn't travel with me very often. It's a lens that I have to want to take out. It doesn't just go in my bag and I think that I may use it during the day. It's something that I will take out when I'm going out to do something specific. So that is my camera systems themselves. Now, I do have a few other little accessories and such. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is for my videoing. I have a couple shotgun mics. They're both identical. They're both Takstar mics. They come from China. They are not what I would call a professional microphone for doing groups of people or for doing people speaking. It works for that, but I bought them specifically for doing nature sounds. And for that, they work amazing. This one here has what's called a dead cat on it. That's a covering that goes over the lens to prevent wind noises from affecting the lens. This one here does not. Now, why do I have two if they're exactly identical? Funny story. I ordered one just when COVID-19 was hitting. I ordered it off of Amazon. I had a lot of people tell me it was a great lens. I had a lot of people tell me that they would order it, they would use it, or they do use it, and that I should get one off of Amazon. So I ordered it off of Amazon, and when I ordered it, they said it would be here in 3 days. The minute after I ordered it, I got an email from them saying it was delayed indefinitely and that would take 4 to 6 weeks to get here. So I ordered it in March, and the delivery date was supposed to be by May the 24th originally. So I said, okay, fine, I'll wait till May 24th. Come May 24th, and there was nothing. It still said in transit. Come to May, I think it was the 29th, it was on a Friday, it said it would be delivered by 8 p.m. At 8:05, I got an email from Amazon saying it was delayed indefinitely. So I went to claim on it, and they said I couldn't claim on it, but it would be delivered the next day before 3 p.m., which was a Saturday. And in Southern Alberta, we do not have Saturday Amazon deliveries. So I waited until after 3 p.m., and after 3 p.m., I was allowed to claim on it. So I put a claim in for it, and the manufacturer got in touch with me within 24 hours and says, we apologize that it was stuck in customs. You will not be getting it. So we'll either send you another one from the Edmonton warehouse of Amazon, or I'll give you the credit for it. So I says, well, give me a credit for it, and I will order it from Amazon myself, because I can probably get it quicker than having him go through all the rigmarole. So he gave me a credit for it, and I went on the next day, which is a Sunday, and I ordered another lens. As soon as I ordered it, it said it was guaranteed 3-day delivery, that I would have it by Wednesday. A minute after I placed the order, same with the previous order I did for the lens, I got a note saying that it was delayed between 5 and 7 days. So I couldn't do anything about it, so I said, okay, fine. It didn't get shipped to me until Wednesday, and I had it at home by Thursday that week. So it actually wasn't delayed as long as I thought. So that was actually this lens here that I ordered for the second time. I took this lens, I did a bunch of videoing with it, and then approximately a week ago, just over a week ago, I went to Waterton, and I went to do some videoing, and I forgot my lens at home. And I jokingly said, God, I should get another lens, or I'm sorry, another microphone. And I was just sort of laughing, and I was down there, I was setting up my camera, and I didn't think anything of it after that. Went, had a great day, did a bunch of videoing, explored Waterton. It was a great time. Came back home, got home about 6 o'clock. When I walked into my office at home, there was a parcel sitting on my desk. That was the original microphone. So I emailed the supplier, and I says, your microphone showed up. The box was pretty beaten up. It looked like it was dragged here, not shipped here. And I says, what do you want me to do? Well, within about 5 hours, I got an email back from him saying, I've already credited your credit card. Everything's taken care of on my end. Consider it a gift. Have a great life. And that was the end of it. So now I have 2 mics. So one goes in one of the turtles, and the other one goes in the other turtle. So now I have one in each vehicle, should I need it. Now, why did I buy this to begin with? First, I wasn't planning on doing a lot of the talking that you've seen on some of my videos. The reason I got into the talking part of it was because I started to do a lot of my classes online. When I started to do that, I wanted a microphone that I could use for that. So I thought I could use this. When I ordered it, one of the qualifications that a number of people said was, it's a great microphone for nature sounds, it's a great microphone for different sounds outside, but it's not the greatest for people's voices. So that's fine. I wanted to try it anyways. I was going to use it for my nature voices or my nature sounds, and I wasn't so much going to use it for voices, so I thought I would get it. Does it work for me talking? It does. In the studio, I find it very echoey because of the low ceilings. And outside, I find, because we live in southern Alberta, that even with the windshield on it, even with all the stuff it has to cancel the wind out, when it does all that, my voice is too soft for people to hear. So I either have to have the lens and the microphone really close to me, which is not what I wanted to do, or I had to think of something else. Well, approximately a week ago, I was doing some online research, and I found that one of my suppliers had what's called a BOA wireless mic system. I looked at it, I considered it, I did a bunch of research on it, and for the price, I thought I would give it a try. Well, I've got the microphone on right now, I have the transmitter on, and on my camera is the receiver, and I love it. Not only does it work really good for what I'm doing currently, but it works great for my online teaching. And for that, I love it. Many of my courses that I do, I will actually do the talking, but I show slides so people don't actually see my face, which many people say is a good thing. So for this, it works great. When I am teaching, I can teach standing up like this, and I can show different stuff, and I'm not worried about having a microphone anywhere around me because it's actually on me, and I can walk backwards, I can walk forwards, I can move around, and I don't have to worry about the sound. So that was what I bought for the sound side of things. As I mentioned just a little bit ago, I also bought a heavy video tripod. The funny thing about that is I put up one of my older cameras for sale, a Canon 40D, which has been sitting on a shelf for the last probably 5 years, and I think my son's used it maybe once or twice, but it wasn't getting used, so I decided to put it up for sale. When I sold it, a local gentleman had a video tripod for sale, so I ended up selling one camera, buying a video tripod, and the wireless microphone, and it didn't cost me anything. So that's what I'm using for my microphone setups. Now, one other system that I have, and I only have it by the grace of my youngest son, because it's actually his, is I have a GoPro setup. Now, I can't say I'm a huge fan of GoPro, although I understand why they're made and I understand what their purpose is. The issue I have with GoPro is, like a lot of manufacturers, they put things within their system that's, one, not needed, and two is, shall we say, a little intrusive. One of the features that GoPro will allow me to do is I can actually view and shoot from using my tablet. The issue that I have with that is I actually have to turn on my tablet's location and the location on the camera itself so that it can be tracked. And it goes through the GoPro website to do this. Even when it's shut off, there's been reports that the data is being transmitted to GoPro when you're traveling with your tablet or with your phone. So I'm really not impressed with that, but I do like the camera. So what do I have in here? Well, this is a little bit of everything. I have a pile of different mounts. I have window suction mounts. I have a couple of those. I have a floating handle mount in case you should drop it in the water. I have mini tripods that you can use for various different things. And I have other handle mounts here as well that you can use for the GoPro. I have a whole pile of different clips and such that'll go on handlebars, on paddles. This will actually hold a cell phone. This will come off and you can put on the GoPro mount for it. I have a clip that clips onto things, and it works really well in the kayaks, so you can clip it onto different things. It works really well on clothing or different stuff like that. I have the GoPro itself and different housings for it. This one here is a semi-waterproof housing. This is the 100% waterproof housing. So I think this can go down to 20 or 30 meters when this is on. When this is on, it can go down, I think it's to a meter. Don't quote me on that though. I also have tons of different mounts that you can use. These are the 3M adhesive mounts that you can put on helmets, on vehicles, on boats, and whatever you want to put them on. And then you can attach the different mounts to them. And I have a whole bunch of other accessories for it. Now, do I like the GoPro for what it is? Like I said before, I love the GoPro for what it is. Am I a fan of GoPro? I would have to say, honestly, no. I've looked at some of the other companies out there, and I've considered buying theirs, but as it is now, my son's let me use his setup, so I think I will continue with GoPro for now. A lot of the mounts and everything that I have currently, I picked up really cheap. It was actually, I think I got 200 mounts for under $15. So it was not a huge expenditure to do that. I like some of the footage I get from it. I'm not a fan of the sound from it, but that could also be the way that it's set up currently. But I'm happy with what it does. It does things that my cameras I wouldn't trust to do, such as being on the front of the kayak, or being on the front of my bicycle, or being attached to the roof of one of the turtles. That is what it's for, and that's what I like it for. Beyond that, I'm still debating whether or how much I actually like it. So that's about everything that I have for camera equipment itself. Now you see behind me there's a studio light. There's another studio light on the other side of the room here. There's a couple studio lights in here. My studio lighting, as digital's gotten better, I've been able to reduce the amount I rely on studio lights to go on location. I don't need to take them a lot of times when I'm going to an office and photographing, let's say, the president or CEO sitting at his desk. I can do a lot of that now with the digital cameras with available light, or even with a flash and a slave unit with the flash. So that's a good thing. Other than that, I'm not really into a lot of the other equipment that's out there. The one nice thing about the 5D Mark IV, and one of the reasons that I bought it, is it has built into it a lot of the timing systems that will allow you to do time exposures, will allow you to do long exposures and such, which before that you actually had to buy separately. So I'm quite happy with that, and it's actually stopped me from having to carry a lot of my intervalometers that would set up the time exposures on the older cameras. So I'm really happy with that. Now you may ask, why don't I upgrade on a regular basis? Why am I still using 70Ds? Why am I not upgrading my different lenses to the newest and the best? One of the biggest things that I've found with people when they upgrade is they actually get a better camera, but they get worse pictures. And why is that? Well, it's simple. When you know your camera and you're comfortable with using your camera, it's easy to get good pictures. Whether it's a 18 megapixel camera or a 16 or a 12 megapixel camera, you know that camera, it's still going to give you good pictures. It may not be the most cutting edge, it may not be the 24 megapixels that are out there, but you'll get better pictures because they're clear, you've taken them at the right time, you haven't been fiddling with the buttons, and you're comfortable with carrying the camera. When you upgrade, you actually take a step backwards for how comfortable you are with your camera. And most people find that as they upgrade, especially on a regular basis, that their camera skills actually go downhill. So I don't upgrade until I absolutely have to. And then when I upgrade, I'll upgrade a whole series of my cameras at once. The next upgrade that is going to take place is I'm going to be trading off my 70Ds for the new 90Ds. Why? One thing is it's got better, higher ISO. It's also got better autofocusing, and it's got slightly better megapixels. Although when you see the pictures behind me, you'll know that going up in megapixels is kind of a misleading thing. A lot of camera manufacturers will push you to it. But honestly, once you get a camera that's 12 megapixels or higher, you really don't need to keep upgrading in order to get better quality pictures. There's only so much that a higher megapixel camera will allow you to do. The biggest thing that I would like is I would like to get the higher ISOs that are less grainy. And why? Because when I go out to do a lot of my nature photography, especially my animals, I'm shooting early in the morning or I'm shooting late at night. And when I do that, I like to shoot at a higher ISO, and if it's less grainy, it'll work better for me. So that's a little bit about the equipment I have. That's a little bit about the gear that I use. and the reasons that I use it. And I hope this helps you, and I hope that you get out there and take some pictures and share them with me on different media that I'm on, and I'd love to see them. Till next time, have a great day, stay safe, and go out and take some pictures.